Just bought an hl4400 homelite generator. Engine runs but no power output. Wondering if there is something simple and missing. Bought it at a pawn shop for a deal. Took the back electrical section of the generator and owned out 120-volt circuit breaker. It showed the circuit breaker to have continuity.
Hello. My name is I'm going to assist you with this. Try flashing the field. 1. Remove the spark plug wire, you do not want the engine to start while doing this. 2. Obtain an old extension cord that you can cut one end off, or an old power cord from an appliance, you will need the male end left on the cord. 3. This step not needed. 4. Note how on the receptacle, one slot is longer than the other. This longer slot is the negative slot. It is critical that you get it hooked up correctly. 5. Determine which wire of the cord will go to the negative slot. 6. Connect the negative wire to the negative terminal of a 12 volts battery. 7. Connect the positive wire to the positive terminal of the battery. 8. Plug the cord into the receptacle and pull the starter cord 6 to 8 times. 9. Immediately unplug the cord. Do not leave the cord plugged in for more than 6 or 8 seconds. 10. Disconnect the wires from the battery. 11. Reconnect the spark plug wire and see if the set is now producing electricity.
Okay, did the procedure just as you said. Unfortunately not fixed. My meter registers about 1.5 volts at both the 120 outlet and the 220 outlet. I do not have a manual for this generator, so I hope I'm not missing something very simple like hidden button or some kind of special trick. I'm a heat and air technician by trade and I have a lot of tools, so it's not an issue to go deeper in this thing if we need to. Any advice is appreciated. Thank you.
There are 3 distinct versions of this unit. Does yours have a square end bell or a round end bell? If it is round, is it a brush type or brushless?
I would call it round. I wish I could send you a picture. I assume the end bell to be the very back of the generator where the outlets are located, in which is not perfectly round, but a squat off is the best way I can describe it. The back of the generator is a squared off town shape, to clarify from my earlier statement.
No, the round ones are perfectly round. You have the square one. Inside that end cover is a capacitor. More often than not, the capacitor is the problem. Take the capacitor out and have it tested. If it is bad, replace it.
I have seen that capacitor in, which is probably another indication that I have the square style generator.
No, one of the round ones has it also. Yours is the square design simply because it is not perfectly round.
Well, the capacitor checks good. I have a capacitor checking meter and it is registering between 250 microfarads to 280 microfarads, in which the capacitor indicates that it is a 270 microfarad. The only thing that was kind of alarming was that it was bouncing all over the place between 250 and 280 while testing it. Otherwise, I say it's good. Not to send us on a wild goose chase, but apparently someone has worked on this generator before. Wish I knew exactly what to call it, but what I would think would be the magnets directly beside the capacitor. I found the wires to be just wrapped into the terminals and not connected properly at all. I also found that the black wire was tied to the positive terminal and the red wire vice versa. However, I know wire colors don't really mean anything, and like I say, I don't want to send us down the wrong path. Having trouble finding an owner's manual online. Can you assure me that there isn't an on-off switch that I may be missing?
There is no on/off switch for the power. There are only the two push-button circuit breakers on the receptacle panel. There are no magnets in this genset. I am not sure what you are talking about.
Okay, good. I just wanted to be extra sure that I wasn't missing something stupid like a hidden switch. Now the thing that I'm calling magnets, in which I'm apparently very wrong about, it is an apparatus that apparently rides on the shaft, and it has a plus and sign on the bottom of it. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me. So what's the next step, because the capacitor seems to be good?
That is the brush block and brushes. They are not magnets. The red wire needs to go to positive, and the black to negative. But this is not the cause of no output. The two copper bands that the brushes ride against are called slip rings. Remove the brush holder and inspect the brushes. They should be worn into an even, smooth arch pattern, and should have no scratches or chip. The brushes should extend out of the brush holder a minimum of 3/8. Push the brushes into the brush holder and let them come back out a few times. They should slide in and out freely, with no sticking or binding. If they stick or bind, clean the brush holder with electrical contact cleaner. Do not use WD-40, carb cleaner, brake cleaner, etc. It is a good idea to clean the brush holder even if the brushes are not sticking. Now examine the slip rings. They are the two bands that the brushes ride on. They are made of copper and should be as shiny as a new penny. A light brown patina is normal, and should not be construed as damage. However, they should not be a dull black color. They should be smooth and not have any scratches or pits. If they are dirty, clean them by attaching a piece of Scotch-Brite pad to the end of a small stick and holding it to the brushes. Start the engine and let it run for a few seconds. Watch your fingers. Once the slip rings are clean, use an ohmmeter to ohm across the rings. They should read about 57 to 65 ohms.
So I ohmed the wires that went to the brush block and coming from the generator winding out of curiosity. I found them to read an open resistance. Is this correct?
You do not ohm the wires. Only the slip rings.
Okay, the slip rings did in fact have a black strip all the way around them, and I cleaned in the manner you suggested, in which was scary as hell. The slip rings are reading a resistance between the two, however my meter is reading back and forth as low as 40 and as high as 80 ohms.
That sounds like a meter issue. There can't be any fluctuation on a stationary winding. Look at your brush block. Does it appear that there is some diodes inside, between the brushes and the terminals where your wire's hooked up at?
I would say it's a meter issue. It's a field piece. The brush block is not even in the circuit at this time. I removed it this morning. Would diodes be located elsewhere? So should I put it back together and try it now?
No. Check the brush block to see if there are diodes in it. Then try a better meter on the slip rings.
Okay, broke out the old fluke and the problem went away. 60 ohms is the reading. The brush block does not appear to have diodes to me, just simply a piece of wire attached to the brushes.
Put the brush block back in, but do not connect the wires to it. Make up 2 jumper wires that will attach to the brush terminals, and install a 5A fuse in one of the jumpers. Connect the fuse jumper to the positive brush and to the positive terminal of a 12 volts battery. Connect the other jumper to the negative brush, but do not connect the loose end at this time. Connect a voltmeter to the receptacle, and start the unit. Connect the loose end of the second jumper to the negative terminal of the battery. There may be a large spark when you connect it, but the spark will not hurt you. With both jumpers connected, check the output voltage. It should be around 120 volts. How much voltage is there?
Does the capacitor need to be wired in? It was wired into the same wires as the brush block. Can I use a battery charger to serve as the 12-volt battery? Hey Hank. I don't mean to bug you to death, but I was wanting to know if the capacitor needed to be wired in and if I could use a 12-volt battery charger to substitute for the battery before I performed the next procedure. Thank you for all your help.
No, the capacitor doesn't need to be wired in. You need to have the wires disconnected from the brushes anyhow. I wouldn't use a battery charger. The voltage is too unstable.
Okay, no big spark when I connected the negative. I verified that I had 12 volts on the battery and at the brush block. No output, 1.5 volts at best at the 120 volt outlet and the 220 outlet. I think I'm going to be a homelite 4400 expert when this is over. The motor is spinning relatively fast. I would think it's turning fast enough to generate electricity, but not a 100% sure. What's the next step?
Disconnect the wires from the brushes again. Ohm across the brush terminals. What do you get? Coming off the stator, there will be 4 wires, red, brown, white and black. Ohm across the red and brown, then the white and black. What readings do you get there?
White and black equals 0.5 ohms. Brown and red equals 0.7 ohms. With the brush block out of the unit measuring between the positive terminal and the negative terminal, I have ohl. However, if I set it on the slip rings, I have 63 ohms. One of the brushes is worn more than the other. There is probably almost a 1/16 of an inch difference between the two. One is exactly 3/8 of an inch sticking out and the other is almost a 1/16 longer.
Those stator readings are too high. Both should have read about 0.2 to 0.3 ohms. That indicates possible damage to the stator. You will need to pull the stator and visibly inspect it, and possibly take it to a shop to have a test called a megohm test done.
Can you buy a new stator all by itself if it turns out to be the problem?
Honestly, probably not. This is a pretty old unit, and many parts are no longer available. But to know for sure, you would have to locate the product number of the unit, which will start with the letters UT, and contact an authorized homelite parts distributor.
Okay, one final question. The receptacles in the electrical section were wired 220 volt receptacle equals red on one side and black on the other. 120-volt receptacle equals black on one side and white and brown on the other. Is this correct? I will give you an A+ rating. Thank you, Hank.
The white and brown are the neutrals. They should be together on the side of the receptacle with the longer slot. Red and black are the hot legs. On the 240 receptacle, they should be one on each side. But on the 120 receptacles, there should be a black on the short slot side of one receptacle, and red on the short slot side of the other receptacle. The tab between the two hot sides should be cut. There should not be continuity between the two hot legs of the 120 receptacles.
Okay, so the 120-volt receptacle was definitely incorrect. However, would this cause the no power output issue that I have, and is it possible the thing may start working if wired correctly?
If only the black wire was connected to the 120-volt side, but not the red, it would not cause the no power issue. But if both the red and black were connected, it could cause the issue, if that tab is not broken.
So it seems like the black wire would be shorted to the red wire through the common wires because their tab is not broken. Why wouldn't this cause a problem? Just trying to learn something.
There are two separate windings in the stator. To get 240 volts, these two windings must be 180 degrees out of phase, timing. If they are allowed to come together on the positive side, the voltages cancel each other out.
So Northern Tool sells a 4,500 watt generator head that has a J609B engine adaptation. Would this work on my engine, and is this probably the best way to fix my issue and still come out ahead of the price of a complete new generator? I bought this generator for $115 at a pawn shop.
I really couldn't say whether the gen head would attach to your engine or not. Your engine is enough to push a 4,500 watts gen end, but I have no idea about the physical connection.
So an overview of what I have here. The only thing that we have found that is substantially wrong is the stator ohm readings. I have pulled the stator completely out, and the stator still reads 0.7 between the red and brown and 0.5 between the white and black. However, I do not see any obvious damage or problems with the stator from a visual point. I have checked and the stator is no longer available from homelite. If this was your unit, what would you do? We flashed this generator not knowing that the brush block was wired backwards. Would this have made a difference in how well the field flash worked, and is it worth doing Agion?
Flashing the genset backwards would not have caused the no output issue. Due to the fact that you still had no output when jumping 12 volts directly to the brushes, there are only a few possibilities. 1. Bad brushes. 2. Bad slip rings. 3. Bad rotor winding. 4. Bad stator. Since you physically checked the brushes, and the fact that you had good resistance readings through the brushes, it tells us that the brushes, slip rings and rotor windings are good. That only leaves the stator windings. Getting resistance readings that are double what they should be tells us the stator has an issue. Visible damage will not always be present. Sometimes it is more internal, usually due to an overheating situation. To be honest, if this were my genset, at this point I would just scrap it out. This is not one of the best built units that ever was, and I personally couldn't justify putting a lot of money into it.
Okay, very good. So I bought a push mower for $75 at the same time I bought the generator for $115, both not working, and thinking I could fix both of them and save a lot of money. I got the push mower working by buying a new carburetor and gasket kit for $25. It's a newer Troy-built mower with a Honda engine, so I feel like I did okay with it. Of course the generator was apparently a bomb, but hey, you win some and you lose some, right? I can get some of my money back scaping the generator out. Anyway, thank you for all your help, Hank. Can I request you next time I need help?
Sure you can. Anytime you wish to request a specific expert, you are definitely free to do so. The best way to ask for a specific expert is to put it right in your question. This question is for XXXXX. Most experts here are courteous enough to respect the customer's wishes.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert, now visit justanswer.com/YTHI.